Hey, how y'all doing? Thanks for choosing this video to view. So, like the title says, thumbnail, I want to talk about the Sig Sauer uh, M18, M17, P320 pistol, the fiasco with the Air Force that happened, the catastrophic event. But on my live the other day, y'all can go back and watch the lives. They're still posted on the channel. We talked about this in a couple of them. And one of the things that I did a prediction on what was going to happen in the military. And some of that prediction was, bottom line was nothing, right? I was like, what the Air Force is going to uncover through their inspection. They did a stand down on just that that particular Air Force base. And I said, they're going to do that stand down, but they're not going to find anything wrong with SIG, the pistol, right? They're either going to blame the holster, they're going to blame training, or they're going to blame maintenance procedures as far as maintenance wasn't done in the intervals it set out to do, and maybe there was a fault with a part in the pistol, but there was no fault for manufacturing of the pistol or manufacturing of the parts. It would just probably be a worn part or something. That was my prediction. And they would come out and say that, and things would carry on like normal in the military. So I wanted to bring this to you today. Is this article just came out, and its Air Force is conducting service-wide inspections of the Sig Sauer M18 pistol in the wake of all these events, or the specific event for the Air Force. A service-wide, not just limited to that one air base, but service-wide for the Air Force, service-wide for the Air Force. And in this article, it's very interesting. Stay with me here. But they're doing a service-wide because of the events happen, right? Let me go ahead and scroll down through here. So the Air Force Global Strike Command announced, I'm reading the article, announced an immediate pause and subsequent investigation of the use of the 9mm SIG M18 handguns. Now, an additional inspection across the entire service, the Air Force, has been ordered as well. That's good. That's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. That's a positive thing. It should happen, right? But pay attention to some of these other things I'm going to tell you about why my prediction, what I predicted, right? Here is the quotation from an Air Force spokesperson. The Air Force directed a service-wide supplemental inspection of the M18 out of caution to validate the serviceability of weapons and reinforce confidence in their use. In addition, some units are conducting refresher training for their airmen. Listen to that, right? Out of caution to validate the serviceability. They've already determined that it was serviceable. They're just validating the serviceability of the weapon and reinforce confidence, which means that, hey, we're going to inspect all these weapons because we already know they're serviceable. We've come to that conclusion already. But we're doing this out of confidence to build confidence in the people that's carrying them, to say, hey, we've serviced them. We looked at them, and again, they're safe. You're going to carry them. That's what all that means. I'm going to read that again. The Air Force directed a service-wide supplemental inspection of the M18 out of caution to validate the serviceability of weapons and reinforce confidence in their use. In addition, some units are conducting refresher training for their airmen. Remember, I said they were going to blame, they're not going to blame the pistol. They're not going to blame that, right? Because it's too big. The contract's too big. The roots run too deep. The money's too big. So anyway, I knew it was going to happen. But so here's the other thing. Air Force Global Strike Command's pause and inspections into the weapon, as well as the death, led some commanders of Air Combat Command units to restrict the use of the AM-18 until they complete refresher training. It wasn't until they complete the inspection of the firearm. It wasn't until they, absolutely determined that the firearm was good to go. It's complete until they complete refresher training. So see, it's already kind of identified as, hey, it's a training problem. Now, I am not debating that there needs to be some training, because there definitely was some problems there that just firearm safety needs to go over. But this is saying, hey, once they finish the training, it's good to go. They can take the weapon, right? It says here, quote, from the Air Combat Command statement, upon completion of the training, personnel are authorized to resume use of the weapon. The duration of these localized pauses is determined by the completion of the refresher training and is not linked to the broader investigation. So it's not linked to the firearm investigation to find out if the firearm is safe or not. They've already determined that's already done, right? It is linked. The duration of these localized pauses is determined by the completion of refresher training. That's what the quotation says. That's what the article says. It's not linked to the broader investigation. And training is anticipated to be fully completed within 2 weeks. So there we go. As I predicted in those lives, they're not going to find nothing wrong with that pistol. With the M18, with the M17, the P320, they're not going to find anything wrong with it. They're not going to do it. It's either going to be a training problem, which that just clarified that that's what they're saying right there. A training problem, which they do. There is a training problem, don't get me wrong. But that didn't cause the gun to shoot by itself, a training problem. But they've already determined that it's not a fault of the gun. And they're not going to. They're either going to blame a service maintenance problem, as I said in the live, as far as they didn't follow maintenance intervals, or it fell outside of that window of maintenance intervals, because the military's got to follow maintenance procedures intervals, or it's going to be a faulty part, but not a faulty manufacturing part. It's going to be like a worn part or something, and it wasn't caught in a maintenance interval. That's what is going to be blamed on. It's not going to be that. Why? Because the contract is too large, the money is too much, and you might say, well, why couldn't it be that there isn't a problem with it? I mean, yeah, we wish that, but I mean, video evidence depicts otherwise. And you just don't lay a gun on a table and then it just goes off. Sorry. But here's the interesting thing too, right? I said there's service intervals for equipment in the military, weapons included, right? Sometimes it's quarterly, semi-annual, and annual. And an individual, when they get a piece of equipment, whatever it may be, they're responsible to conduct a before, during, and after maintenance check. And then the higher level maintenance is usually quarterly, semi-annual, or annual. Well, if that is the case, right, every individual with a firearm should be looking at inspecting their firearm, cleaning, and everything like that. But does those intervals need to quarterly, semi-annual, and annually need to be done by a certified armor for the SIG? Does that need to take place? Well, if so, that message needs to come out by SIG too. Anyway, like I said, y'all can go back and watch those lives, man. There was just the last couple lives I did predicting this. It's in an article today, and not shocking to me, and I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just it's just military 101. Contracts too big, money's too big, hands being washed too big, too many. And interesting thing too about the CEO of SIG, currently SIG, right? He was previously a CEO of Kimber, that when Kimber was failing as well as a company. But also a few years back, there's an article, you can Google it. He was the CEO was arrested and facing prison time for basically smuggling weapons, conning another country, saying, hey, these weapons are going to be imported into the United States, but in reality, they were getting imported into Colombia. So let the conspiracies go with that. I mean, just use your mind right there, right? A guy arrested, goes through the court system for supposedly, sending weapons to another company or to another country, and getting tried, but didn't face any prison time, and then lands a contract with the U.S. government to supply weapons to our military. The roots just run too deep, man. Nothing's going to be wrong with that gun. I'm just saying. But anyway, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next time.